Bonjour classe, bienvenue dans la classe de français 3. Aujourd'hui, on va apprendre l'imparfait, friend of the passé composé. Let's see what we've got here. On y va? Ah oui, friend of the passé composé, parce qu'on connaît très bien maintenant le passé composé, n'est-ce pas? The past tense. How do you say I did something? J'ai fait. How do you say you ate something? Tu as mangé. He slept. Il a dormi. We spoke. Nous avons parlé. You went out. Vous êtes sortis. They died. Ils sont morts. We're getting really good at the passé composé, you guys. And the good news is it's not going away. We're still using the passé composé all next week and even the week after that. But the passé composé has a friend. They go together. They're not the same, but they're close. It's the passé composé and the imparfait. Think of it this way and watch what I do as I conjugate some of these same verbs in the imparfait. J'ai fait, I did. The imparfait looks like this. Je faisais. And it means I was doing or I used to do. Keep paying attention to these. Tu as mangé, you ate. The imparfait is tu mangeais. You were eating or you used to eat. Il a dormi. He slept. How about the imparfait? Il dormait. He was sleeping. See where I'm going with this? Nous avons parlé. We spoke. Nous avons parlé français dans la classe de français. We spoke French in French class. What about we were speaking French in French class? Nous parlions. Voilà l'imparfait. Vous êtes sortis. You all went out. Vous sortiez. You were going out or you used to go out. And finally, ils sont morts. They died. It's a little different in the imparfait. Ils mouraient. They were dying. The imparfait, you'll notice, has a slightly different meaning. It's still the past tense, but it's more of what we think of in English as the gerund or the ing in the past. Notice how I translated these. I did versus I was doing. You ate versus you were eating. He slept versus he was sleeping, etc., etc. So you see how it's used differently. A lot of times the imparfait is used to set up the beginning of a story. It was a dark and stormy night. I was doing my homework. My brother was sleeping in the other room. The dog was lying by my side when suddenly something happened. All of those first parts of the story use that ing form. They talk about what was happening in the background before the action takes place. And the action is the passé composé, and the imparfait is all the stuff in the background. So that's one way to look at why the imparfait even exists and why it's different than the passé composé. But before we get too deep into that, let's take a look at the formation of the imparfait. Have you been able to figure out how to conjugate these verbs? Are you seeing any patterns? Look at the endings, look at the stems, and now I'm going to show you exactly what this is for your conjugation. The imparfait, by the way, you can find it in your textbook on page R5, right next door to page R4, the two most important pages in the entire French 3 book, I mean to tell you. Formation of the imparfait. You take the new form of the verb, you subtract the ONS, so maybe instead of that little dash, which is meant to be like a minus sign, like subtract, let's just go like this. No more ONS once you have the new form, and then you add the imparfait endings. So, AIS, AIS, AIT. This is for je, tu, il, elle. IONS, IEZ, AIENT. That's all you have to do. So unlike the passé composé, you're not adding in a helping verb. There is no avoir or être. And there is no past participle. It's just these endings added to the stem of the new form. So you get things like je parlais, I was talking. Tu regardais, you were watching. Il chantait, he was singing. Nous faisions, we were doing, etc., etc. Make sense? Now, why is it important that we use the new form of the verb? Class, it really doesn't matter when you have a verb like parler, écouter, regarder, chanter. It doesn't matter too much with regular ER verbs. Oh, but it does matter with some of our regular ER verbs. Let's take a look at this verb, manger. If you want to say I was eating when suddenly a UFO landed in my backyard, I was eating, you have to put in the imparfait. So let's take the new form of manger. It's going to be nous mangeons. Do you see what I'm getting at here? Why it's important to take the new form of the verb first? Because if we drop this ONS, look what we're left with. So the imparfait of manger is going to look like this. Je mangeais. Keep that E. I was eating. Tu mangeais. Keep that E. You were eating. Il mangeait, elle mangeait. It's going to have the E because that's the stem from the new form. Other verbs like this, you know them. Voyager, nager, voila. So keep that in mind. If it's a GER verb, using the new form from the get-go is very important. It also matters for other verbs like IR verbs. Let me clear this off so I have a blank space for writing. Now let's talk about the verb finir. I was finishing my chores when my parents got home, just in time. I was finishing, you're going to use the imparfait. But let's start with the new form because that's how you form the verb. So the new form of finir is nous finissons. Oh, ho, ho. Very important to use the new form here. It's not just like finir, drop the IR like we would do in the present tense. For the imparfait, you have to start with this stem. Drop the ONS. And now, I was finishing the imparfait. Je finissais. Et voilà. So, for many verbs, doesn't matter so much. But really, it's important that you start thinking about, do you know the new form of all these regular verbs, irregular verbs? Use that to form the imparfait. There's only one problem with this rule, and that is the verb être. Let's think about the verb être. Je suis, tu es, il est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont, nous sommes. There's no ONS. If the way to form the imparfait is to use the new form and then drop the ONS, how do you do it with something like nous sommes? The answer is, you don't. Être has its own special form of the imparfait. But class, it's the only one that's like that. Every other conjugation with nous has an ONS. Did you know that? Now you do. Let's talk about être though, because être is so different. You start with I accent aigu, te. That's your stem. That's the whole thing. So here is être in the imparfait. J'étais, I was. Tu étais, you were. Il était, elle était, he or she was. Nous étions, we were. Vous étiez, all y'all were. And ils étaient, they were. Same endings. AIS, AIS, AIT, IONS, IEZ, AIENT. So être is technically the only verb that's irregular in the imparfait. Now, there are irregular verbs that exist, like faire and avoir and aller, but as long as you take the new form in the present tense and drop the ONS, you've got your stem. So if you're solid with your present tense, with the new form, the imparfait is really no big deal. Let's take a look at, again, what I've been mentioning all along, how do you use this new verb conjugation? Again, it's all in the past. It's what you were doing before something else happened. It sets the scene of a story. It's maybe what you used to do, like when you were little. Quand j'étais petit, j'étais, the imparfait. Quand j'étais petit, j'allais chez ma grand-mère tout le temps. Je jouais avec mes Barbies. Je regardais Blue's Clues à la télévision. I used to go to my grandma's. I used to play with my Barbies. I used to watch Blue's Clues. Well, not me. Moi, je regardais Sesame Street parce que je suis trop vieille pour Blue's Clues. Blue's Clues, ça c'est quoi? Vous, même les autres, les millennials. Mais je ne suis pas millennial, donc je n'ai pas regardé Blue's Clues. Okay. Basically, the point is, what were you doing? What did you used to do? That's the imparfait. It can also be a state of being or a description. For example, you could say, j'étais triste. J'étais triste. I was sad. You're describing your mood. You could say, j'étais content. Or moi, j'étais contente. I was happy. You could say, il était beau. He was good looking. You could say, elle était intelligente. She was smart. Anytime you use an adjective to describe someone in the past, use être in the imparfait because it's used to describe people, places, things. It's also used to talk about age and time. So, for example, if I want to talk about when I was younger, I could say quand j'avais 13 ans. Remember, when they say age, they don't use être. It's not literally when I was 13 years old, although that's how we translate it. It's when I had 13 years, right? J'ai 13 ans, quand j'avais 13 ans, when I used to be 13 years old. Or if you're telling a story and you're talking about, I woke up in the morning, it was 5 a.m. You use the time, you say il était. Use the imparfait, 5 heures. Okay? So I do have a little acronym to help you remember when to use the imparfait. It's not a cool song like the passé composé song, but here it is. Anything in the past that is ongoing, like someone was doing, using that gerund. Anything in the past that is a description, like he was tall, she was intelligent, il était grand, elle était intelligente. Anything that talks about age, quand j'avais 13 ans, ou quand j'étais petit, when I was little, quand j'étais jeune. Or time, il était 5 heures. Or c'était lundi, it was Monday. Ongoing, description, age, and time. Oh, dat imparfait. Oh, dat imparfait, c'est so difficile. We'll keep working on it in class. But now you have the basics. Go back in your textbook, look at page R5. Remember how to form the imparfait by starting with the new form of the verb, dropping that ONS, and adding these endings. AIS, AIS, AIT, IONS, IEZ, AIENT. Class, we're going to really love our past tense when we get back into class next week and we're working on everything together because now you've got them both. The passé composé, the imparfait. Let's go. Merci. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check Google Classroom for any upcoming assignments, and I'll see you next time. À bientôt et au revoir.